What's up, homies? Let's talk about what was Southern California like before it was a city, a developed concrete asphalt metropolis. Most of the land in Southern California is kind of, I don't know, I wouldn't say it's all covered in houses, but a lot of it is. So you really can't tell what's underneath your house, you know? That's why I bring this up. Like a lot of people don't even know what Southern California was before we invaded it and turned it into concrete, you know? So I tried to look back and mainly understand what was the water like, because naturally all people are drawn to fresh water when they're going to settle, and Southern California was no exception to this. There wasn't very many streams and rivers running in Southern California. It was actually just kind of a desert area. It was very arid. So I think what actually happened was there was a few different rivers like the LA River, and they didn't call it the LA River at that time, but there was a river that pretty much took over all the banks in LA and spread out. And that's the problem. That's why we had to basically dam up the water and keep it in the mountains and drain it down as we needed it. Okay, and we also needed to do that because there was really no way to make agriculture without irrigating the land because it was a desert, unless you planted right next to the river. And like I said, the river just kind of banks out. So the actual Indians that lived in Southern California, they didn't really have to do all of the agricultural stuff. There was actually enough stuff here already. There was steelhead trout that were natural in the river. There's a whole bunch of species that they're not there anymore. Okay, they need to come up the river and go into the cold areas and then go down, and no. Once you start putting dams and aqueducts, none of that's going down anymore. So the last trout was caught in like 1940. Okay, there's not there is a lot of fish in the LA River, but there's not the traditional steelhead trout and the Santa Ana sucker and a lot of the other fishes that are important to the food supply, you know. So did we make a folly here? Did we decide to dam up the area and make it all go down into like these little channels? The LA River is very famous because it's one of the largest channels of water, and it has a lot of different legs. You know, it comes off of or the Rio Hondo. That was another kind of larger one in my opinion. Like when you really look at the Rio Hondo drainage, it's just like huge. It's huge, and it can go in two different directions actually. It's pretty complicated what we did with the water, but to be honest, there are reasons why it happened. Okay, there was huge floods that killed a lot of people. You know, I think around 300 one time, a flood came down and it killed the people. You know, like once the banks of the shore flow out over the land, that's a problem. If you build a house and then the whole area turns into a marsh, a lot of people don't know this, but La Puente, Puente Hills, that whole area was famous for like settlers coming there and just hanging out in the meadows, and there was water there, but it was just a marsh, you know. It was a meadow, and you don't really want your house to be on unstable ground. You know what I mean? I've seen a lot of houses like that. I'm not going to mention where, but they're on water, okay? You know what I mean? And people are like, well, my house is sinking and my street is sinking. And yeah, you're living on water. So that was another thing. You know, if you want to develop the land, you have to basically take the water out of it. So the LA River didn't totally drain to the ocean. It's debatable as to whether it ever originally did drain into the ocean or not. A lot of people said it drained out in a bunch of different ways. It went this way sometimes and that ways other times. Some people say it never ever went to the ocean. The fact is, once the water came down out of the mountains, it pretty much laid in the whole entire valley, okay? So, yeah, anywhere down here would have been really hard to live by. Your house could eventually get flooded all the time, and the rest of the time it's going to be kind of a desert. Unpredictable. So, what the Indians did is they lived off the land. They weren't really farming it. They ate like the acorns off the trees, and they small mammals. They ate the fish. They picked berries and stuff, and they were good to go. Um, we irrigated our crops and everything with the mountain stream water. Pomona was actually one of the first areas to get water. And that's why Pomona is so old. It's just uh, basically where Diamond Bar is, where I'm staying. It turned into like a ghost town once Pomona got water, and it all turned into great farmland, you know. And now the city is just really old, and you just wonder, how is this city so much older than all the other cities around it? Well, they were the first ones to get the water. They made a deal with the water there.